Hi, welcome to Glow's Kinder Kitchen, and I'm Glow. Well, today we are going to be making some pork chops, and I'm going to start them off on the stove and then we'll finish them off in the oven. We bought these yesterday at Sam's and they look very nice. It was an assorted pack and they just look really good. They've got the bone in them, which I really like for cooking pork chops, especially this way. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to salt and pepper our pork chops. We're just going to do 3. This will probably give us an easy 2 meals. But by doing the 3, since I work during the week, this makes it nice for a quick meal one of the nights. And let's see, I'm going to turn them over. And we're just lightly salting and peppering. And we'll do the salt. Always try to keep one hand clean and the other one dirty. It makes it better. There. Now I'm going to wash my hands and I'll be right back and we'll start seasoning our flour. So now we're going to go ahead and season our flour. And I'm going to put some paprika in it, sweet paprika, about probably 3/4 of a teaspoon. This is a 1/2 teaspoon, and I'll show you what I use. And then I'm going to put in some onion powder and garlic powder. That's probably like 1/8 of a teaspoon. And the same with the onion powder. And then I'm going to put in a little salt. That's probably about 1/2 teaspoon. And I'm going to be putting some pepper.
How much was that?
That's a good question. Probably, I would say, between 1/8 and 1/4 of a teaspoon.
Okay.
So then what I'm going to do is first of all, we're going to put some butter in this pan. I'm going to start off with about a tablespoon and 1/2 of the butter. And the same with the olive oil. And I use this type of olive oil. It's not the extra virgin. It just is better for when you're frying.
How much was that?
That's about 1.5 tablespoons, as well as the butter.
Okay.
So now what we're going to do is we're going to flour these. It doesn't take any time at all to do this, and the trick is to get them nicely floured. And I just take it over here, and I always, when I put the pork chop in, I always lay it down away from me.
So you don't get splattered with grease.
Correct, because when you're frying, you don't want it to be super hot when you're starting this off, but you don't want that hot grease to be splattering on you. And if you noticed, I did it very easily putting it down in there because Richard's filming this, and that would not be good if I splattered hot grease on him as well.
No, it wouldn't.
There we go. And it's just like working a puzzle when you're putting these in here. You know, you look at your shapes and everything of your pieces. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and turn this up and let this cook. It'll probably be about 4 to 5 minutes on each side at the most, and we'll be back. Well, our chops have been here browning probably about 4 to 5 minutes. And you see how the juices are starting to rise up on them now? That's an indication to me that I can probably turn these. So let's see what it looks like on the one side.
I need a fork.
Is it brown? Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yep.
Getting there, looking good.
Turn the next one. Oh yeah, look at that. Pretty.
So pretty, so pretty.
Yep, and this one's ready too. So these are going to go another 3 to 4 minutes on this side, and then I'll be back and I'll show you the next step. Hi, well our chops have been here about 3 minutes. And you can see how the juices are already starting to rise on this side. Now we don't want these to fully cook in here because I want them to cook low and slow in the oven with the gravy I'm going to make. So I'm going to go ahead and pull these off, and let's just take a look at them and see the brown. Look at that. So
looks good.
That's the goal. You just want it to start browning because that's flavor. That's our friend. See how this one's doing. Oh yeah, look at that. Whoops, do you see that?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and
save that little pizza nut for Lucy.
They're not finished cooking yet. So.
I know, she'd eat it anyway though.
I'm going to leave that in there. That'll be good for the gravy that we're making. I'm going to set this over here. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit more butter to this pan. We're not cleaning out this pan. All of this in the bottom of this pan is our friend for our gravy. So that's about a tablespoon of butter and about the same of olive oil. And I'm just going to stir this around. I'm going to turn my heat down a little. I had the chops cooking on medium, just so you guys know. I started them off a little lower and then turned it up. So now what I did is I went ahead and I chopped up my veggies. I have 6 of the white mushrooms, the button mushrooms. I have 2 ribs of celery, and I cut up that real fine, see? Mm-hmm. And the same with 1 medium onion. Now I'm going to go ahead and put this in here. And see, when you cut all this stuff up in advance, see how easy this goes together?
Yes, it does.
So I'm going to saute this until it starts to get, a little done. It'll, the onions and stuff will become a little translucent. The mushrooms are going to start to cook down. Oh, it smells so good already. Anyway, it does look like I need to put a little bit more butter and olive oil in here. There we go. So, and I have 1 clove of garlic over here that I'll be adding in at the end before we start making the gravy. But you don't want to put the garlic in right away because you don't want that to burn. So anyway, this will probably be cooking for like 3 to 4 minutes, and I'll be back and I'll show you the next step. Hi, well our onions and the celery and the mushrooms are cooking down real nice. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add that large clove of garlic. I smashed it with my mallet, and then I just kind of cut it up with my knife. Not a lot, but because this is all going to melt down in here. This smells so good. I wish we had smell-o-vision or whatever you call it. It would just, this is delicious.
It does smell good, Miss Cole.
So the next thing I'm going to do is, remember the flour that I had left over from when I floured the chops?
Yeah.
I'm going to use that to make my gravy. That's probably a shy quarter of a cup right there of flour, seasoned flour. So I'm going to go ahead and stir that in. and see what it looks like. By doing this, you are making your own canned soup, if you will. I very seldom use canned soups anymore. I've read, articles about it. I mean, I use it occasionally, but this way I can control what I put in my stuff, my food, and I know what we're eating. So it does just taste so much better too. So I think that 1/4 of a cup of flour is plenty here. And the next goal here is we want this flour to brown. So I'll be back in just a couple of minutes and we'll see what it looks like. Well, I think it's time for us to turn this and stir it up. I can tell by the smell of this that it's probably browning. And it has like a toasty type smell to it, and look at that. So let's do the next one bit here. That's what you want. That is like our friend for flavor. So we're going to let the other side here brown up nicely, just like this side, and then we'll be adding our milk. I'll be back in just a little bit. Well, I can tell from the smell again that it is probably time to turn it. So let's just turn it over and we'll see. Yep, look at that. So now it's ready for us to add our milk. Oh, that little piece jumped right out, so he's not going to win. So anyway, we're going to add our milk a little bit at a time. I usually just cover the bottom of the pan to start with. I measured out 2 cups. I don't know if we're going to need all of it or if we're going to need more, but we'll find out here. But see how that already is starting to thicken up, that milk?
Yes.
This is so easy to do, you guys, and it tastes so much better. And for myself, I always keep onions and celery, green peppers, mushrooms, all of that in my refrigerator. Well, the onions I don't. Or potatoes or garlic, I don't. I keep them stored in a container. I actually have a container that has holes around the bottom. It's like a pottery, and it works so well for storing potatoes and onions and garlic. But you want to store those in a dark, cool place with air. So see how that's coming together?
Looks good, Miss Cole.
Yeah, it smells really good. And you don't, if you didn't want to use the milk, another way you could do it is to just add water or broth. Whatever you have on hand will work. Oh yeah, that looks so good. Just bump my temperature up. It's on a 5 now, which is just below medium. Just so it warms up that milk nicely. And in the meantime, we're going to add a little bit of seasonings. Kitchen Bouquet. That's a great sauce to put in any gravy. I also use it for grilling and roasts as well. So right there, that was just like a dribble, probably a 1/16 of a teaspoon at the most. A little bit goes a long ways. But see how that changed the color of the gravy right away?
Yes, it did.
The next thing I'm going to do is the Yoshida's Gourmet Sauce. It's like a teriyaki sauce is what it is. It adds great umami flavoring to, that's probably like a teaspoon. We'll see how it goes. I always start off with less because we can always add, but we can't take away. So the next thing I'm going to add is thyme. Thyme pairs really well with pork. So I'm going to, that's a little too much. Probably about that much. That's a quarter of a teaspoon. And I always try to do this, and that helps waken that up. And this is rubbed sage. About a quarter of a teaspoon of that as well. And then some marjoram. Marjoram is actually related to the mint, is in the mint family is what it is, but it adds great flavor to meats, pork, chicken, beef, lamb. So that's probably about the same amount that we did of the others. And the other thing I'm going to add is a couple of shakes of ground mustard. Mustard goes really well with pork. Stir this up. Oh, that smells so good. And remember, we did the salt and pepper on our pork chops. So we know that we're going to have to be kind of careful with our spice. And we also had, done the seasonings in our flour. So that's why I haven't added any more salt. Let's see how it is. I don't think I need to add any more salt. With all these other flavorings we've put in, it'll be fine. But I am going to add a little bit more milk. You want to start off with a sauce that's not super thick because this is going to be cooking low and slow in the oven. I have my oven preheating to 350, but once I get that in there, it's going to be cooking at 325 for about an hour. So let's get our chops. And see, you can see how the juices have started to rise on those as they've been resting over there. And that's fine. Those juices are going to add more flavor too. So let's just put them in. There we go. I'm going to pour all of that juice that was on this platter right in here. That's just going to be additional flavoring for this dish. And tonight we're going to be serving this with rice. I'm going to bake the rice in the oven right along with this. I'm going to turn these over so that they have that gravy on both sides. Doesn't that look delicious?
Looks very good, Miss Kwong.
Yeah. So see how easy that is? No time at all, and you've got this ready to go, and you're going to be having a really nice, delicious meal that is healthier for you than using the canned soups. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and I don't want to waste any of that. I'm going to pop this in the oven. And I just have a little bit of milk left, so I'm just going to drizzle that over. There we go. So I'm going to put this in the oven. I'm going to have a lid here. Put that right on it. If you don't have a lid that fits your pan, don't worry about it. You can cover it with aluminum foil, and I'll be back in just a little bit. Well, in about an hour. Hi, well, I just took the pork chops out of the oven, and let's take a look at how they look. I'm going to lift the lid away from us because oh, look at that.
Looking good.
That looks delicious.
Smells good too.
See how tender it is. Oh, yeah. Oh, yummers. Yep, these are good. Look at that.
Yep, looks good.
I'll be back in just a few minutes. I'm going to take these out and remove some of this fat, and then we'll sample it. Well, I'm ready now to eat. I just wanted to sample this for you guys. For the gravy, I went ahead and added an additional 1/3 of a cup of the whole milk to that because it was real thick from cooking. And I'm going to go ahead and slice. See how easily that sliced?
Sure did.
And the rice I did cook in the oven. Here it is right here. I always put a lid on it. The recipe is just like for the stove. For example, tonight I buttered my dish and then I put in 1 cup of rinsed white rice, and then I put in 2 cups of water and just like 1/4 teaspoon of butter and some salt, about 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and that was it. And it baked in the oven right along with the pork chops. And you have to cover it with a lid. Oh, this is so tender, you guys, and flavorful. Look at that.
Get a shot of that.
It's
Skull.
just full of flavor.
Looks good.
I'm going to try the rice and gravy. And we're going to have sugar snap peas with this tonight.
You have a rice recipe. We can link this to also.
I sure do. That gravy is so savory. It's delicious. I hope you've enjoyed this. And if you have, please like and subscribe to our channel. We would really appreciate it. I wish you were here for dinner with us tonight. Give me a comment. Bye.